Hi everyone, welcome back to CS128 Honors. Today we're going to go through a really short lecture about structs, and also it will be accompanied with a really short homework. So yeah, so today we'll talk about structs in Rust, defining structs, instantiating structs and ownership. And if you prefer to read or like to help you understand, this lecture follows Rust book chapter 5.1 on defining and instantiating structs. So let's get started. So what are structs? Structs are short for structure, and they're basically a composite type that you can define by yourself in Rust. So it's like a programmer-defined type, right? And it collects together multiple related values. So this is very similar to objects in Java, like members of a class. And also they're very similar to tuples in Rust. So the difference between structs and tuples is that in a struct, you can name each piece of the data that you're holding inside the struct. Whereas in tuple, you can't name them, so you'll access them only by the index. So here is like a struct 101, kind of like just how to define a struct. You use the keyword struct, you give it a name, car, and then these are what we call fields in your struct. These are the values that you're holding inside the struct, right? So this is the name that you use, followed by the type. Name, followed by type, name, followed by type. So this is when we create a struct like this, we're actually defining a type, right? We're just defining a data type. We don't actually have an instance of it. So when we actually instantiate a struct like this is called making an instance of a struct. And for example here, I create a new variable called myCar using the car struct that we defined earlier. And then we can define each field with concrete values. So the brand can be Toyota, the make is Camry, the miles per gallon is 30. So since the fields are named with brand, make, MPG, they don't have to be specified in the same order as when we define the struct. So here we defined it as brand, make, MPG, but actually when you instantiate the struct to make an instance, you can do MPG, make, brand, or any other ordering as long as the name is consistent with the value that you want to give to it. So how do you actually access the values inside your struct, right? We use this thing called the dot notation. So it's really simple here. So for example, here I define a variable called myCar. We instantiate the struct like before. And now, for example, to get an MPG, I can just do mycar.mpg. To get the brand, the make, I can just do um, mycar.brand to get the brand, right? Here we give an example of how we can modify the value within the struct. So we do mycar.brand equals to string from Chevrolet, and this is how you change the kind of a value of the field inside the struct. So notice that when you want to actually change any of the field within a struct, you have to declare the instance as immutable. So Rust doesn't actually allow you to declare each individual field as mutable. So if you want to modify even just one of them, you have to declare the whole struct as mutable. So obviously, if we have to write out the struct field every time, and like for example, we have to do, so here, for example, we have brand as a string is Honda, right? And when we want to instantiate the struct here, normally we'll write brand, which is the name of the field, and then colon, and then the variable here that we have written, right? So it will be brand colon brand, right? And that's kind of clunky, and like it's difficult if you always have to write out the name of the fields in a struct, right? So actually you can use this thing called the field init shorthand. So when the variables have the same name as the struct field, you can use the variable directly. So in our car struct, we have brand, make, and MPG. So if we make variables brand, make, and MPG, we can just define the struct like this without having to use the name colon value notation, right? This is especially useful in functions, especially in constructors, where you want to instantiate a struct, and you take in the initial values that the struct has to take, and you name the parameters of your function based on the values of the field, and you can just instantiate the struct like that. So another way to instantiate a struct is to use the values from another existing instance, right? So remember that previously we already defined the myCar instance of the struct car. Now we create a new variable called steal car, like because we're stealing the values, right? And we create a new struct here. We instantiate a new struct with a new miles per gallon, and then this means that we will take every remaining field that is not defined from the other struct that we've already initialized. So we just specify the fields that we want to define ourselves, and then the remaining fields will be taken from the other struct. So you need to be careful when you use this feature of instantiating a struct in Rust, because what happens, now that we have gone through the lectures on ownership and borrowing, what happens here actually is that when we do this instantiation from another struct, we are actually moving the values. So for example, brand and make, the values are now moved into steel car. So the same fields, brand and make, in the old my car are now invalid, right? So if you try to access it in my car, you actually get compiler errors. So this is like a subtle bug that you need to take note of when you're actually instantiating structs and trying to copy the values from another field. So that was the end of the lecture, right? As I said, it's very short. Homework 6 is very short as well. You should be done in like about less than 30 minutes. It's released today on Prairie Learn, and it's due 1 week from now, next Friday, the 28th of February, the last day. So have fun coding Rust.